We're going to start looking at the head now. So you have your head where you've done the nose and the mouth area and the eye area. And don't worry, because we can sculpt that a little bit more. But like I said earlier, this is more of a whimsical look than a, oh gosh, that's, a sculpt of a hare or a rabbit, if that's what you're deciding to call yours. Now, because we're doing these for the coronation, if you decide that, so I've used this Corriedale silver colour because it is like a hair-like colour. But if you decide, yeah, gorgeous colour that I love. If you decide that you want to go all out and maybe do a green hair, or you want to do a purple or a yellow hair, then feel free. Even like I love this new sunflower colour. I get my Wolf and World of wool. Don't get commission for saying that, but I always find it's really good wool. So, if you want to do something funky and colourful, then by all means do that. So I'm going to show you a technique now that I use on the sculpted animals that I do as well when adding fur. So if you take, in this case, we only want short pieces. So you take a fine piece and then you can blend those. Now, I guess if you want to blend another colour in that, this Corriedale silver already is blended, and I'm just going to show you on this ball here. So we're laying that down, and then we're going to go roughly in the center, and we're going to go along, just a line along, and then we're going to fold it over, and we're going to do a line of felt in above. Okay, and then my next piece, I take that piece that's quite short enough. You're probably looking, when it's folded, that's probably double the size of my thumbnail, so nothing longer than that, or it's going to be extremely hairy. So I would just lay that over where I did that line, just go along, over. So what we're actually doing there is just creating like fur, really, hair with a parting, I guess you could say. So we're just going to carry on. So I've started underneath the mouth area on this hair, and what I'm going to do, because when we add the ears on here, see this piece that we left, that's going to go on there. And what that allows us to do is have an invisible join for the ears. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to concentrate on this area. I'm going to leave the back here, but I'm just going to concentrate and work my way around. Now, when you get to these areas where the eyes are, so I'm going to do exactly the same here, and I fold it over. You would finish that area and then just go in with your needle. You'd be able to feel for that raised bit there and just go over that. Now, what's really good about this is, it's okay, just break that in two. It's a bit long. That there is, you can move back and forth between the areas, because you're just going to just keep adding until it looks a little bit like a fluffy ball. Okay, so you can't go wrong with this, ladies. If you end up felting a bit too low, on the back of the head, then don't worry about it, because we're just going to put this over the top. So I want you to enjoy this bit. Yeah, so it's taking a little piece about the size of your thumbnail. Don't take big chunks like this and put that on, because you're going to end up having to do lots of trimming. Okay, it's so much easier to just do another piece over and just keep adding your layers than it is a big clump. So I'm going to leave you there, and I'm going to be back with you in a moment when hopefully I'll have a little fuzz ball on your hands, and I'll show you how to add the ears. I've asked you to leave the mouth and the nose area free, and that's because we're going to use some contrast colours there. We will add a little bit of contrast as well for around the eyes, but you carry on putting your chosen colour over the head. So I hope you've been enjoying adding the small amounts of fur to that. You should have something that's beginning to look like this now. And just a little tip, if you have a look, if you think, oh well, it looks a little bit bald in there like it does at the side there, you can just get a little piece. Now if you've been felting that way and over that way, you can do it the opposite way. So you can go along the middle, and you can felt on that side and then just tuck it over, and just very gently. You can see now I'm doing that at an angle, just very gently. Now, like I said earlier, I like with these, I like them to be wispy. I like the wispiness of it, the fluffiness of it. But if you want that to be more, to be a lot smoother, you know, like this ball, a lot smoother, you're felting it more. But I would suggest that you use a finer needle, maybe a 40 or 42. And again, another tip, if you're going to do this quite as a close smooth felt, if you very lightly go in at an angle, then you don't get as many holes, and you can rub gently as well in areas. But I'm not going to do that, because part of my brand with this is my hairy hairs. So you can see I don't have as much definition for the eyes, but that's fine. But I can still feel where they are, and that's why I like to show and to use core wool, because I can really, because this is really felted, I can manipulate it and mold it. But literally now I left the nose and the mouth area because I'm going to blend some different colours there. But I wanted to show you with the ears. Now, whenever I add eyes or I add ears, I always have a couple of these pins. So don't worry too much about how they're standing and sitting. It's just where you're going to secure them. So I would generally have it the face looking forward towards me, and I'd pin one in to where I think is position right, and then I would get the other one and do similar with that one. And then I have this little glass, and I like to kind of just sit that on there and just have a look and see what I think. Now, these are not, they're not the finished article, because what we're going to be doing is felting these more into a position. But one I wanted to be able to show you is the back here. Now see how we've kept these long pieces, and what's important about that is that that's going to allow you to have a seamless finish with your ears. And I just pull these out a little bit more, but you'll see now that that pretty much covers the back of the head. So if you're happy with the position, I would say keep playing around with it. you know. If you want them a bit further and a bit more down, you can do that. But I think I'm going to go with these being up. So literally, once you've found that place, just very gently move that. Very gently poke the wool and just keep checking the position that you're happy with, where that is. So you're poking the wool around it, but not actually on the ear yet, because what we're going to do is hold that into place, and we're going to felt that where we want that to be. Okay, so have a play around with that. Get something that you can kind of perch the head on and play around and move them around until you're happy with that. Now, if you have, once you put that on, if one of your ears is longer than the other, I'm going to show you a little hack with that, how to change that. But just get that into position and very lightly felt around it. And on here, you can see I have a little bit of a bald area. So I would just do what we've been doing, a small piece. I will put it over. I would felt in the middle, get over and felt over the top, and I would do that until that was covered. Okay, so if you want to do that, and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, ladies, so you should have something that resembles this. Again, you know, that tip of just poking at an angle will help to smooth down that wool. But what you should find, because you left those ends, is that you've got a lovely finish there with no joins where the ears are. Okay, so I'm going to just remove my pins. Now, what you can do is you can continue, and you can add if you want to on here. I'm not going to, but if you wanted to, you could carry on. Put the fur on, and it'd give you that whisper, fluffy bit. What I do like to do is put that around the ear area, but I'm just going to show you with the ears first. So just make sure that that's felted in. And I tell you just to avoid around the ear bit. So when you've done this, you may look at that and say, you know, am I happy with the position of the ears? Does one ear look like it's a bit longer than the other? So if you have that, if you go to the back and just prod down, and what you need to do with this is keep checking. So I prod down at the back, and then see here where you have the fold of the ear, put your needle in there, and again just gently prod down. But what I want you to do then is just check. Are you happy with that? Are you happy with the positioning? Now, once you are, you can just very gently poke around. I find holding at the side really helps. If I want that ear to be a bit more forward, if you hold and fold it, and again, just felt just a little bit harder. Just poke a little bit harder there. Bring it back up. Now, it's a lot easier to add bit by bit and do this. Once you've felted that, you're going to destroy your mate, okay, if you want to start pulling at it. So just gentle checking. Am I happy with that? I think my ear can come down a little bit more. And just felting around just to secure them really. Again, you can go inside gently. If the height's okay, just do that really gently because it will push it down. I'm just going to poke a little bit more on that. So you do that until you're happy with the position. Now, some people like is to be down, or they like maybe one down and one up. So if you wanted to change the position of these, I quite like the more power, like happy hair. But if you do want to do that, you're literally just holding the ear where you want and you're going to felt that in. Okay. If you want a little bit more of a crease in the ear, if you just rub that felt and just very gently poke along where you want that to be, that brings it in a little bit. Equally, if you want it to be out a bit more, you can rub that. So you can, because you've really felt it that well, you can manipulate those. Okay. So all that I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to check for like where I've got a couple of bald patches around there. I'm just going to patch that felt up, and then I'm going to show you how to do some blending for the nose and the mouth. And then we're going to just do a little bit of refinement where the eyes are. And those pins you had, they're going to come in really handy for positioning. Now, if I put these in, I always say, once I put the eyes in, it brings it to life a little bit. See, there's a bit cockeyed there. But you get the idea. It's bringing it to life. It's looking a little bit more like a hare or a bunny, whatever you want yours to be. Okay, so we'll just carry on. Fill a little bit in, get your ears to how you want them. This bit on the top, you can add some more, and that was it. I was just going to show you where I like so again, small tufts but really short tufts. So I just keep. Now say I wanted a little bit of that white in with that, I just again get a little tuft and add that in. Okay, I've got that little piece now, and I quite like to do that around. So again, same principle I've shown you, through the middle. This time, that's all I do, through the middle, and just leave that little tuft, and I quite like that. So you could do that at the front as well on there. So I'll leave you to carry on with that, doing a bit of refinement, and then I'll come back and show you how to blend for this area. Okay, so before we start doing the blend on the nose, what I want you to do is just do a couple of lines. So from just by the side of the ear. Now, if you trace it with your needle, where we're going is from the point where the ear meets the head, and take your needle along to the nose. And we're just gonna, earlier when we sculpt for the eye area, you should still be able to feel that socket area. So it's just above that, and we're just going to go along with our needle just a couple of times. We're just going to create like a shape there, and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So what I've done, where the socket was, I've just stuck those pins in. I find that just gives you a guide, and we're just looking for a bit of balance there between the two. And then what you can do, you can feel for that area that you did, and again just felt that. So if yours is a little hairy like mine, literally what we're doing, we're just flattening the wool around that area, and it'll just make our eyes stick out a little bit more. So I can take that pin out now, just where I felt that area some more. And if you think about that shape, it is almost like a droplet shape where the eye goes in. So I just keep flattening that. just poking more, okay? And then you can do the same on the other side, feel, and you can have a check and just see whether you're still level there. You should be able to feel the socket that you did earlier. And again, what's great about this wool is you can squeeze it and squash it. So you can look, say, well, actually, I can squeeze that a bit more, squeeze it in a bit. It gives you a little bit of a longer area. So it should start to feel like a rabbit or a hare, depending on what you're doing or what you want to call it. When I've done rabbits before, and I've done the hares, the only thing that I tend to do is I add, so if we were to roll this up in a ball, I tend to just add to make the cheeks a little bit fatter on either side. So if you wanted to do that, then feel free. Again, this is a whimsical, but I'm hoping from you doing this that you're learning different techniques that you can try on different makes that you're doing. Okay, so I think now that the main thing about where you're going to have the eyes is it's really firm. Now I'm going to use some little plastic eyes. If you don't have that, you can use black wool and do that into a tiny ball and just poke in there and add it in, and you can add a little bit of white in there as well for effect, but I'm actually going to put some plastic ones in this, so I'll be showing you how to add those plastic eyes. And again, a really common mistake is that, again, I'm going to go to squashy ball, too soft. You need to be able to put a needle or like a dowel implement in to create a hole, which then you can put a little bit of glue and stick the eye in. But if it's too soft, you can't do that. So this, I'm happy now that this is really felted and I've got that shape there that I want. You might think, actually, I really like it with a white nose, so you might want to keep the nose the same, and then you can add some whiskers. What I would say is if you want to keep the nose, I'd blend wool for the mouth, and I will show you in a moment. But if you were going to keep that like that, I'd get some of the grey or whatever colour you're using and felt down the middle and fell over the top, just so you've got some wispy bits starting to come over for effect, and you can just gently poke those in. So then you've got like this gradient from the grey to the white on there. So what I'm going to do here, we've got like a mouth area, so I want you to poke around there so it's a bit more of a definite area there. Okay, and we're going to blend some wool then for the nose and the mouth. Okay, you can see it's taking shape now. It looks like certainly looks like a hare. And what we're going to do is add, we're going to get some more wool shortly, do that like a bit of a sausage with, again, some at the end there, just to give it a little bit of a neck area before we add it onto the teacup. And this is going to look horrendous at the minute. You can see, oh gosh, that's going to look, but it's honestly, it will look great once you've done. Okay, I also was thinking earlier that if you wanted to do like a Mad Hatter's tea party, you could do this and maybe make little hats and things as part of that and have them in the teacups. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to show you how to blend some wool, and we're going to do this nose and mouth area. Okay, so I've got a selection of wool here that's all like different shades. There's some browns and blacks, some grey and some white, a little bit of silver and a little bit of pink. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to blend some colours. Now I had a picture here because I wanted to try and show you, but I don't know whether, because we've got a glare on here. But what we're attempting to do now is just to do some of the gradient of colours around here so that you can get some of the detail. So you can add the nose area and the mouth and the whiskers. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to blend. Now, if you're doing bigger pieces, you can actually use, I bought like what you brush your dog with. I mean, you can buy the proper ones, but it is quite cheap to buy those. But because we're only using small amounts, I'll show you how I would do this. So I'm going to take some of the brown, the light brown, a little bit of the dark brown. You can see again, these are like feather-like pieces, and literally I'm just pulling at the fibres, and that's going to mix those in. I'm going to get a little bit of the Corriedale silver. These, by the way, this is all carded wool. Again, I'm trying to keep with the carded. I love merino. I really love merino wool, but I think for beginners, it's so much easier to use carded wool. I've got a little bit of the white here as well. So again, we're gonna just add this in. Okay. So I've got a nice mix there of colour. Now, if you hold it against, I'm not going to put that big clump on, by the way, but if you hold it against the grey, there is a bit of a definition of colour there, and that's what we're looking for. So again, as I suggested earlier, put a small piece on, felt across the middle, and you can either go back or go forward. I'm going to go forward with mine and just fell at the top, and then these straggly bits just poke in very gently, very gently. So it's going to look quite patchy to start with. Now you can decide then when you look at this, if you always go with darker underneath and then again very fine whisper over the top, just a little bit like you would do if you were painting or you were doing a watercolor. You would start with dark and go to light. I'm going to go back to the what I blended, which has light and dark shades in, and I'm going to add some more onto there. So I'm literally now, I'm going to cover this area until I'm happy that it's covered and I've got a gradual contrast. Now, if you wanted to go with one colour, use the same principle. Put that on. Now, if you overlap it with the bit here at the top, so I've got like the Corriedale silver there, and then rather than bringing it over and felting, I'm just going to leave it. I've done it short enough to allow me to do that, and I've got a nice gradual now going from the grey to the brown. I quite like that actually. Might do a couple more like that. So this is experimentation, okay? Enjoy it, take your time with it, add a little bit at a time. Go from dark to light unless you're blending all of those colours together. So work your way across and down and underneath, okay? And then I'll be back to show you how to add the detail under the nose and around for the mouth and the whiskers. Okay, ladies, so I thought I'd check in with you. I hope you've got up and you've went and had a cup of tea, move your legs a bit. It's really easy not to do that and to sit here for hours. I decided to leave a little bit of the core wool showing, but otherwise I've covered that now. I just wanted to show you, I like to do, I guess it's like a little bit of a beard. So again, just a very, very fine wispy bit, and then place it just like where the mouth area is. Again, poking through the middle. Only I don't secure it. What I do, I just gently poke some of the fibres that are really sticking out. But what it does, it gives me like a little wispy bit. And I think that when you put the whiskers in, it looks quite nice. Looks quite nice that. So you just need to even it off a bit if that's what you're doing. Just a few more there. Again. Now, if you think, gosh, it's too long there, again, your little snippers, you want to level it up a bit, you can do that anywhere. Don't go mad though and cut all your wool off. Okay, so I'm quite happy with how that is. So all I need to do now is do the detail around the nose and the mouth. So I'm just gonna show you how to do that. You need to take some black wool. So get your black wool ready, and I'll show you how to do that next. So we're taking a piece of black wool and we're just winding it in our fingers. So it needs to be quite thick, not overly thick, but quite thick. And what you're looking at doing is you're looking at the halfway mark of your nose area, right near the bottom. And you're going to get your needle and you're going to just poke it gently in place, just to secure it. Now, what happens with this, don't do it too much because it'll sink too much. I want you to just keep your finger on the bit that you've poked and just very gently spin that and just bring it up slightly on a curve. And again, needle felt that into place. Okay, and then I want you to do that on the other side between your fingers. It's just that this side is a little bit thinner and it's a lot easier to do it in one piece. Again, just gentle because we're going to maneuver this now. So what you're actually looking for, you'll be able to see it properly with the bit still on, but you're looking for like a bit of a V there, but not too much, almost like a smile actually, a bit thicker there and then thinner. So if you just use your needle now, just to poke that in, just to get the shape so that you're happy. You're happy with that shape, and just keep checking it. You'll need to look at it, move them up, just making sure that it's level and just going over that black line. Again, you need to do this gently. You can use a finer needle for this if you want to do that, but equally, you can just carry on using the needle you've been using. So we're just getting that into place. Now, once you've secured that, you can pull it and secure the ends. And they go in quite easily around that nose area. And do the same on the other side. Make sure it's secure, otherwise you're going to pull it all off. Yeah. So you can see now, with leaving some of that white, I've got that definition of where the mouth is. I'll add a little bit more fluff here now I've finished with this bit. You can, if you want to, get a little bit of pink. Again, very, very fine, because it can start looking a little bit wrong if it's too much, but you can get some very fine pieces and add a little bit of pink. But I've also used a little bit of blush with a cotton bud and added that on, so you could do that too, and you could certainly do that around this mouth area at the bottom if you wanted to do that. But I think I'm going to add, where it's a little bit bald here, I'm going to just add a little bit more fur, and you can continue with that black, just very lightly poking, and it'll give you a lovely sharp line then. It's just taking your time with this bit, ladies, and it is worth it, because it'll look finished. Okay, so I'm going to leave you doing that, and then we'll look at the whiskers and the eyes. So I mentioned earlier that in terms of the nose area, you could take pieces of pink wool if you wanted and overlay them and felt them in. Just make sure you do wispy bits. I came across this as an idea. I make heirloom rag dolls, and I use this for blush on the cheeks. So it's this colour is called Old Rose, and it's called Versa colour. So it's a fabric ink. These little brushes, I think I got a pack in the works. So literally, where the nose area is, I just dab that on, and that's enough. I don't know if you can see it under the light here, but it's enough there. And then where the mouth area is there, I just put a little bit, just to give a hint of colour. And it's still got a little bit of the grey on the nose, so that makes it look a little bit more realistic. So that's just one idea really. In terms of this stage, this is where you can sculpt a little bit more if you want to. So remember, you can squeeze and squash and mold into place. So I found when I added some of the whiskers here that I lost some of the mouth shape. So literally you're poking. Use that 38 needle. It's a great needle for getting that shape in. I lost a bit here around the eye area. So again, felt in around just to give that shape, that nice shape. Yeah. So just take your time with that. This bit is raised. You can squash it in if yours doesn't look like that. The underneath here is a little bit wider. You can get more of a definition around the mouth just by poking. Okay. Again, you can add little bits, might want to add a little bit more brown there. Now I'm adding really tiny pieces, just using the same technique. Okay, just to give it that little bit of extra texture. Okay, again, if there's any parts you think, oh, might want to trim a little bit off there, you can just use these are great just to do that and blow it. Okay, so we just have whiskers and eyes. I'm going to show you a couple of variations with the whiskers. Okay, so we're going to look at adding the whiskers. So there's a couple of things you can use. You can buy these horsehair whiskers and you can add them in individually, put them onto a embroidery needle, and you can fell them in, or you can add glue. But I wanted to keep this quite a simple make. Another is that, you know, the craft feathers that you can get, you can strip the feather off and it leaves you with that central bit. This one's gone a little bit curly, but then you can just put a little hole at the side and glue them in, and that can create whiskers. But I want to show you with merino wool. So you just take a piece, quite a fine piece of merino wool, and hold it firmly, and then all I'm doing is just pulling these fibres gently, because I just want a wisp there. And if I hold there, and all I'm going to do with this, to do it this way, I'm right-handed, apologies. I'm going to pop that underneath the nose, and I'm going to felt that in. Now, what you can do is use your snippers, and you can make some a little bit short and leave some long for effect, and just keep pulling at them until you're happy. Then you'll needle fell under the nose and you'll do the other one. So that's just a really simple way. Now, if you don't want it there, you can do it at the side and have them just coming out at the side. So it's up to you. You play around with how you want them. I think I'm going to go for underneath the nose. So you would literally, you can do it all as one piece if you want, and do this other side. You just need to make sure, if you're doing that, that you fold them and that they're a similar length, which they are. So I'd give that a little twist, pop it underneath with my needle, put that in just to secure it. And you can do it so it almost disappears underneath the nose, and then you can fan these out. But at the moment, I just leave them secure, because you can do all the fancy trimming, fanning them out once you've finished, really, and everything. As long as it's secure in place, that's fine. You just have to remember that they're there. Okay, so that's a bit rough and ready looking at the minute, but we'll fan them out. We'll fan them out later on. So I think that's, in terms of this being an easy make, that's the easiest way. So we're gonna add the eyes. For that, you're gonna need a couple of plastic eyes, the small ones. You're gonna need some fabric glue or some glue. I like to use the Gorilla gel glue, because I find that really secures things in place. And you're going to need either a thick needle to create a hole, or a dowel kind of implement that especially for the job, that will create a hole in there. So I'm just going to get my bits together so that we can do that. Oh, and keep hold of your pins. I always keep them on my mat, but keep your pins, because we're going to use those to position the eyes. It gives you a good opportunity to see whether they're level and how they're looking before you add them in. Okay. Okay, ladies, so for adding the eyes, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a pin and you can poke it through and kind of see where the eyes are, and if you do that straight, you can see where that needs to go coming through the other side. Now, this is an all AWL. I've been calling it a dowel. Many apologies for that. I don't know why I said that, but this is specially made for it. However, I keep an old needle. Not everybody has one of these. So this is an old felting needle that got broke. So it does exactly the same job. Now, if you hadn't felted that, you would have a real job getting that in and gluing in the eyes. So that should be really, really firm. So what I need to do is come out roughly at the same place. Can you see? So that's gone in no problem. But unlike when we fell, you can really go round. So I got these little plastic eyes, and you can put it in position. And the other side, I'm going to use my awl for this. But equally, you can just use the same needle. And I'm going to pop that in. And then I'm just going to see if I'm happy with that. And actually, I've got one slightly higher than the other. So I just need to take them out. I'm going to go back in. Okay. I just didn't turn the needle enough for that, so I could see the hole. Put that one in. And pop that one in. It does help squeeze in it a little bit while you do that. Get a bit more of a turn there. Get that in. So you're positioning them, and just make sure you're happy with those. It doesn't matter if you keep doing it a few times, just so that you get them positioned right. Okay. So then I take them out, I'd put my pin in just to keep the felt where I want it to be. Okay. And then I would take, it's going to be helpful if I got the same size eyes out. So I like to use Gorilla Glue. So with this, you do need to tap it a few times. Make sure your glue is all out of the way. And then I would literally just squirt on it, take that out, remove my pin, and pop that in. And then you would have the eye. Okay. So generally, once I've got that eye in place, I would get my needle. Now again, you can use a fine needle if you want for this, ladies, or you can use the needle you've been using. And you can just felt around just to give a little bit more definition. If you wanted to, you could get a little bit of wool, white wool, wind that, and you can put some wool and felt some wool around to give it definition, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to glue those into place. So then you've got your whiskers, which still need a bit of fluffing up, but we're going to leave that till later. You've got your eyes on there, you've got your nose, So we're going to make a neck for this just to attach to the body. And then I'm going to show you how to make some arms, and then the little coronation dress that she's going to wear. Now, I did find in my little bits and bobs box, I keep all bits from makes, this little rose. So I thought I might just stick that while I've got my glue out, stick that on there. Okay. So again, if you're making a lady hair and you want to do that, then feel free to do that. So we'll be looking at making a neck and making the arms. So for that, you need whatever colour, in my case, the Corriedale Silver, for doing that. Cocktail stick will be a good idea as well. I think I need to kind of clear my area after this before we start again. So I'll be back with you shortly. So we're going to do a bit of a neck area, but it's more like a place just to secure the head to the body part. So use the wool that you've been using for the head, and hopefully by now you have something that's beginning to resemble your hair or your rabbit, whatever you're deciding. So that's mine now with the eyes on and the little embellishment. So you're gonna felt this. Again, you can use one needle. We're just gonna poke that just to get the fibres together to start with. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna roll this. And what I want you to do is leave, do you remember when we did the ears? And you just left a bit of a tufty bit here. We just want to leave that tufty bit because we're going to actually attach the head onto that bit. And then this bit, again, at the bottom, a little bit of a tufty bit. This is all going to fit on here. So this is quite a nice one to, I guess, just forget about the world and felt with. So we're leaving tufty bit, tufty bit. So we're mainly felting in the middle. So remember, poke and roll. Now you could use core wool for doing this. There's no reason at all why you can't do that. I just prefer to use the colour that I'm using for the hair. So I want you to carry on doing that until that's quite firm. It needs to be firm because we're going to use it to secure. Now obviously this is quite firm. There's still a bit of softness to it, but it is quite firm, and we have these bits here as well. So we've got plenty there to use to secure this too, and this bit. So we'll be securing this bit with the wispy bits first to the head. And this is when we have to be careful because you spend all your time and energy doing that. So I would generally have that on its side while I secure it in place. I'll show you that again in a little while. So just carry on felting this till you get it quite firm. Okay, I'm rolling, and I'll be back with you shortly. So we're going to attach this part now. So the easiest way to do this is to lie the head on its side. We've kept the tufty bits here. This is quite firm in the middle, and we have some tufty bits there. So I like to put it, you know, if you imagine that sat on something, I like to just very lightly secure it just go around. We don't want it too far over here. We want it underneath there. So I just very gently do this to begin with, because then if it's not positioned right, I can move it. But that looks right to me. So I'm just gonna see how I'm picking the wool up, and I'm felting that. Okay, turn it over. The wool up and felting it. So just make sure you don't have bunchy bits there. And the way you'll do that is just slanting your needle. Okay, just slanting your needle round underneath there. Now she's going to have a ruffle, so don't worry too much. What is going to be visible is the side of her face. So again, get her on her side and just poke. And what we're doing, we're attaching this bit to underneath the head. Okay, so you can see already, you know, I've not done much felt in there, and it's fine. But again, just take your time, no rush. I don't want to change the shape of her face. I'm just keeping that line underneath, and I'm going around and doing the other side. And when it comes to the back of her head, if you hold her, and again, we don't want it to be too bunchy here, so you can always tuck that down and just use what you need there. And tuck it down. Just going to do that gentle till I'm happy with that shape, because I don't want a bunchy bit there. Again, on the side. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of a curve here, like what you get from the neck going onto the back. That's what we're aiming for. You keep felting, you keep in the shape. Now, if you do this and you think it's starting to look a bit ugly, just carry on, add in the neck. Okay, and then you can do like what I've shown you throughout, doing the face. You can do the bits of fur, and you can add it on there, on the back, and bring over and down. But here we're going to have a ruffle, so don't worry too much about that. What's important is it's attached. And again, we can go underneath. So I want you to carry on doing that until you're happy. You do slanted movements on your needle, you won't have as many holes that are visible, especially on the areas that are going to show around her neck and just under her cheeks. These parts are the ones that are going to be on show. Okay. So I'm going to leave you doing that, and then I'll show you how we're going to attach her to the body. Okay. Just carry on going round. You can put her on her side. And I'm going slanted around her cheek area. I don't want to spoil that felting that we've done. I'm going to turn her over. So you keep doing that now until you're happy that that's secure. Okay, so we're at the stage now where we're going to attach the head. So what I want you to make sure with this, imagine these are like the shoulders, because this is where the arms are going to be, and this is the where we're going to attach the neck and the body. So I want you to pull these out just a little bit more. And I decided, sorry, I'm just going to turn that around shape wise. Just decide where you want the front. I think naturally, when we felt, I always find that when we're doing faces on the angels, that there's a part where I think, oh, that actually that looks better as the front. So you're going to attach, just move up slightly. Okay. If I turn this round, you can see then. So you're going to hold that in place, and you're going to, with what you've been felting, just bring it down a little bit and very roughly just felt it. Now, what you can do at this stage, if it helps you, is you can get a pin and you can pin it. So what we're aiming for, we're going to use all these bits to just hold that in place. Okay, but we don't want the neck too long. Okay, so we want a nice natural from the neck to the shoulders. So if you just start by just securing it in place, I'm going to need to turn it round because it's easier for me to see. So make sure it's in the middle, and just start off by going around. Just go around. Obviously, our neck is too long at the minute, but we've deliberately done that so we can pull it down. Okay, so we go around and we're going to just secure that in place. Okay, and don't worry, she's a little bit wibbly wobbly at the minute. So keep this around and just move the neck down now. Now you've got that firm, but not too firm that you're not going to be able to move it. And again, I just want you to go all the way around. The reason I put it in the cup is it's a lot easier to move with that. So just press down and felt, and around, press down and felt. So it's actually going in that bit in the middle. You see, she's already standing up quite well, actually. Okay, so we want to carry on belting her in. And she's got to be really secure. So where we're aiming for with this, I'm just going to get my ruler, is we're looking, so from underneath her cheek, we're looking at about 1 inch. So that's how far down you need to bring her, but all the while you're doing that, it's just strengthening. So you need to get from under a cheek to there to be around 1 inch. So I want you to keep felting that in. I want you to look at the shape, make sure that you're not moving her to one side or the other or too far forward. If you're doing that, you can bring her back. Just carry on felting. So you need to get that to about 1 inch. You need to get that secure, and then you can use the bits that you have. You can bring them round. So keep on felting until you get that to about 1 inch, and then I'll be back and show you how to do this bit. So we can start looking at the arms.